Okay, welcome back to Discovery Track, everybody. Now we have Conviva, Ed, blanking on your last name.
Haslam.
Aslan, yes. And you have recently done well in a golf tournament, I see, and you got the green jacket, so I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're going to be talking to us about maintaining quality in the internet of internet DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks, which is something that's constantly in the news and constantly in our faces. So
Yep.
That's very timely. I hope you all got rescanned when you came in the room, because one of you will leave with this Roku Premiere Plus. I love Roku. I use it every single day. Take it away, Ed.
Thanks, Troy. I appreciate it. So thanks for coming. My name's Ed Haslam. I run marketing at a company called Conviva. And for those of you not familiar with Conviva, Conviva measures and does analytics for the top video, for what we like to think of as the next generation of TV for major OTT providers around the globe. So fundamentally, why are we here today, or why is Conviva in business? Conviva's in business because of this little spinning symbol, right? This is the buffering symbol that we all know and dislike so much. What this causes is your consumers, all of us, to get really upset when we're watching video, and it's even more pronounced, in the world of HD or Ultra HD even content, as the pipes become more clogged and full. So what are the implications of this, and what do we need to look for? So the Conviva solution, which before I get to the case studies that I'm going to show, basically is to put software in the client. Right? So we're in the glass that you're watching. So Conviva software sits in the application, the video player, or the video application in the mobile device where you're watching the video, and it's measuring you as a consumer, your quality of experience in watching that video. It's sending that data back, things like buffering and bit rate and video start time, in real time to a platform. That platform's aggregating the data across a global customer base, so it can do norms and benchmarking for any given provider. And then it's providing a real-time dashboard for the network operations center. And it's doing all of this within seconds of an event happening, because it's really critical. The two key things, if anything, you need to remember is you need to be measuring in the glass, and you need to be doing it in real time. Because if, let's say, for example, HBO in their network operations center finds out that you as a customer of HBO Now or HBO Go is seeing buffering, they don't want to find that out 10 minutes later, 30 minutes later, the next day. They want to find out within seconds so they can potentially address that issue for you, right? So that's what Conviva does, and the way we articulate this is we ask all of our publishers, who are our customers, is what is your experience strategy? Right? Because they all have content strategies. Content strategy as an OTT provider or television content provider, obviously you're going to try to create the best quality content that you can, but lurking underneath the surface is this notion around experience, which is no matter how good your content is, if the consumer can't see it, or it's got a bad bit rate, or it's taking too long to start, they will change the channel. They'll leave. They won't watch the content anymore, regardless how good that content might be, right? So, and this data shows from Conviva data across, again, about 80 of our global publishers over a 5 to 6 year period here, what are the implications of poor quality of experience? So what we do for our publishers is we correlate quality of experience to engagement, right? Because in the end, that's what everyone cares about, is how long are people watching? Can we make and help people watch more, right? So this shows year over year the drop in engagement when rebuffering, which is the amount of time you see that spinning symbol versus the amount of time you see content, increases by 1%. So 1% increase in rebuffering can cause engagement to precipitously drop, and it's getting worse year on year. So we as consumers are having an are more increasingly sensitive to poor quality of experience, and we watch less as that impacts our viewing experience. So the way we like to think about this is a new approach for measuring and analyzing TV. Right? Because in the end, TV is OTT plus traditional linear TV, because we're all watching across all the different channels. You need to be in the glass, you need to be collecting all of this data in real time, providing it back up through a set of APIs and products that we offer up. We call this for our publishers, this notion of what we call an OTT data hub, which is a way to aggregate all this engagement data and experience data together, do big data analytics on it, provide it to tech ops teams so that they can measure quality experience and understand consumer viewing, provide it to content intelligence teams to potentially look at content recommendations and more, and content roadmap subscriber intelligence to try to do churn analysis and churn prediction based again on quality of experience. And then finally also to customer care intelligence. If you call into HBO and say I'm having a bad quality of experience or I'm having a hard time getting your app to work on my iPad, if they have a dashboard that actually shows your connection to them in real time and the content and experience you're having, then they can be much more responsive in a more timely fashion. But one of these other tools we offer is what we call precision. Precision is a data feed that essentially informs intelligent CDN switching. So many of our publishers use multiple CDNs, right? They try to figure out when should I use one CDN versus another. That's usually initially decided based on economics and contractual commitments to their CDN providers, and they usually try to pick what they think is the best performing at the most efficient cost to them. Right, so the way precision works is it just provides the data. Right, we're not a CDN switching company. That's not what Conviva is in the business of. Conviva is in the business of offering data to make better decisions. Right, I'll take you through two case studies where we do this. But the way precision works is, let's say you see buffering on a particular CDN, and this might be through multiple application service providers. This might be NBC, ABC, Fox, all seeing potentially sharing a common CDN. Well, what happens is that data is brought back into the platform I mentioned before. It's aggregated in real time, and it's set up to this precision delivery intelligence policy engine that's configured by the application or the publisher. And this decisioning engine makes decisions based on what kind of thresholds they're willing to tolerate. If a rebuffering hits a certain level, if video start time goes above a certain level, and I'll take you through examples. They then inform those clients to switch. Right? They can do that through manifest files or whatever technology they build. The two case studies I'm going to show you are both in-house switching apps built by the publisher. One is a publisher I can't mention, and the other one is Sky that I'm going to take you through who does this. So let's look at these two case studies. Right? So this first one was a major SVOD publisher who was using, again, the Precision API. The scenario here was this happened last year around the denial service attacks. Right? And this was a denial service attack that was hitting everyone. And the implication here is you see these two graphs, CDNA and CDNB. They also must remain unnamed, but they're well-known CDNs, right? So this is video start failures, and you see on CDNA around 2% and CDNB around 2% until you see this spike. Where video start failures, this is when the consumer clicks play and the video will not start for them, right? It's not even exiting before the starting, it just won't start. That's a 12% spike. And so it went from 2% on average over time to 12%. And this is when the DDoS attack was hitting this particular CDN particularly hard, particularly CDNB in this case. This is the same time frame for the same publisher, but this is the rebuffering ratio, right? And here again, you see about a 0.5% rebuffering ratio, which is a decent one. But CDNB spiked 8x the normal rebuffering ratio at the same time. So video start failures and rebuffering ratios both skyrocketed during this DDoS attack on CDNB. So what did they do? They used, again, the Precision API and the data feed in real time to make a switching decision. They switched nearly 70% of their traffic from CDNB over to CDNA. And they did this in real time within seconds of them seeing this ratio that I showed before on video start failures and rebuffering impacting them. So by moving that over, what happened was the video start failure reduction went down 44%, and the rebuffering reduction went down 36%. Right? So again, this is all happening automated within seconds. And this is just one particular instance with this particular publisher. So they help maximize QoE, which in essence also saves them money in terms of customer care and customer complaints, calling in, because you as a customer hopefully would not even notice this happening except for the first few people who started to experience that spike. All right. So let me show you another case study real quickly here. So this is Sky. Sky is actually on record of this particular instance of what happened. So this is the same sort of thing, using our data feed, this data hub notion of taking all this quality of experience data. And what Sky did first is they figured out the threshold that they wanted. So they used our Experience Insights product, and this is This is a bit of an eye chart for you to read, but I'll interpret it for you. It's showing essentially the rebuffering ratios over time, going from 0 to 0.4, from 0.4, et cetera. And what they found, and the y-axis is engagement, right? So they found the point at which rebuffering became too high and engagement started to drop. And they did this over using our product for a period of time and making that correlation between when does rebuffering become damaging to my business. Because obviously you can't eliminate rebuffering from the internet, but you can find the point at which rebuffering causes your consumers to stop watching. They found that percentage to be 0.4%. So Sky says, any customer that sees a 0.4% rebuffering ratio, they want to take action and try to improve that for their customers, right? So I'll show you now in this case study, and they do that by essentially taking in all of this real-time data across their CDNs, their ISPs, and protocols in various pairings. And you'll see now, this is Now TV, which for those of you who aren't familiar with Sky obviously has a pay TV service, much like DirecTV and DirecTV Now. Sky has Sky and Sky Now, which is their OTT service where you don't need their set-top box. So this is an OTT service. Very granular data gets fed to Sky, and this is just, again, a bit of an eye chart, but the things to note is in the far left time column there, you see this is multiple data points hitting them within a second, right, which is showing them problems. These are all problems that are potentially happening in terms of a blacklisted CDN and then the best buffering CDN rate, right? So they take this data feed in real time and they make the same sort of decisioning. So this is a particular use case. Again, this is actually the previous use case was over a 2-hour period of a DDoS attack on that CDN. This is actually within essentially a 5 to 10 minute period, right? And so here you see in this table different ISP CDN combinations, so ISP1 and CDNA and CDNB again. And you see in the red there at around 12:25 a.m., the rebuffering ratio really skyrocketed on that particular CDN. I mean, in this case, they actually didn't know the reason why this was happening. They don't know if it was a DDoS attack or just a server problem or a configuration error. But that's a huge jump from a norm of around 0.2 to then hitting 4.7 and 45, almost 50% rebuffering. That means you're watching the symbol more than you're watching content, right? Which obviously you're not going to stay tuned to Sky if that's happening. So what did they do? What they did is very similar to what we saw in that previous case study, which is they did a switch. They used our data to intelligently switch. And again, this is based on a policy of that 0.4% ratio. And then they also have multiple CDNs, and so they then have economic decisioning of move to this other CDN based within certain price thresholds, right? Along with performance thresholds. And in this particular case, again, within about a 5 or 10 minute period, they moved over almost 5,000 sessions from the poor performing CDN to the high performing CDN. And then you'll also notice, much like in the HBO case study, at the end of that particular instance of a session, they switched back, right? When the performance of the CDN normalized back, they then automatically move back because obviously that's the one that they have a better economic situation with or different contractual commitments to. So again, all these decisions happening in real time, happening across CDNs, and happening in an automated fashion to save consumer experience and potential sessions lost and then potentially impacted revenue and customers. So one of the reasons we can do this is because we have global data. Right? So we're not just measuring a particular publisher and their particular rebuffering ratios on CDNs, we're actually measuring it across all of our publishers. Right? So we have a much wider view of the internet than any one publisher can have of the internet. And we share that global data pool to make these decisioning feeds for people to see whether CDNs are performing poorly or not. So in fact, in some cases, one publisher might not even see the issue, the other publisher is seeing it, but they might want to switch anyway because they might anticipate seeing that issue, right? And so very wide deployment. And then I'll leave you with this before we go to questions, which is this is our top 40 publishers over the last 6 years. Right? And this goes back to my opening statement about sort of the next generation of TV, right? Which is, as you see, up until just about 18 months ago, this is viewing our growth across 40 of the world's largest OTT providers. except for some spikes around World Cup events, OTT viewership was going up in maybe single, maybe low double-digit year-on-year growth. It really wasn't growing super fast. In the last 18 months, it's more than doubling in our publisher base, right? So the reality is people are watching more and more content over the top. And that's really becoming the norm and will become the norm for the way we watch TV. So we should really stop thinking about it as linear TV and OTT, and we should just think about it as TV, which is digital with some linear in it, right? And that this data, and we expect this curve to continue over time. Any questions? Do I have time for questions?
Yeah, we have time for a few questions. Who's got questions for Ed? Who's got some questions about keeping safe in the era of DDoS attacks? Somebody, no? Ed always does a great job for us. Ed, it's a Discovery Track regular.
Yes,
I know
please.
He's always a great speaker, and we have one over here. And here we go.
So what do you think is the main drivers for the growth or lack thereof in terms of viewership of OTT? Is it quality of service or some other attributes?
So the question is what do we think is driving OTT viewership? And obviously I think quality of service is an indicator. As quality of service gets better and better, quality of experience, people are willing to watch more. But the reality is, I think it's just it's two main things. One is, we are just spending more and more time with these devices like our mobile phones and iPads at home, and we want the selection and choice. The second is the service offerings are bringing more and more content to us. All right, so you now have like at least 4 or 5 pay TV, or I'm sorry, live linear TV offerings offered today in the US alone. So consumers now just have so many choices for the way they can get the content. And I think people are starting to exercise those choices. And that's evidenced by, if you look at the last quarter in the US, most data out there is saying pay TV suffered anywhere from a $500,000 to $750,000 user loss in subscribers, which is the largest loss of pay TV subscribers in the history of cable in the US. So I think there is a massive switch going on. So it's not that we're watching less TV, we're actually watching more TV. We're just watching it across more screens.
Applause for Ed. Great job, Ed.
Thank you.